You've heard of SmackDown versus Raw? Well, now it's clean versus Raw. Which production style do you prefer? Today I'm going to go on a little rant. Questy Rants returneth for another episode. We're talking about production. Is clean better than Raw? Is Raw better than clean? Let's find out and where I stand on the spectrum. Now, sound production is very important for an album, in my opinion. Very, very important. And I feel like this war is very easy to explain. You know, you have the one side, the raw purists, who love everything just with a layer of fuzz. You know, that static, that kind of, TV static on everything. And I understand why. Because when you're listening to black metal, especially, like early black metal album, even newer black metal bands that come out, just the layer of fuzz and static on the songs themselves gives it more atmosphere. Like, that rawness gives the song more atmosphere. It kind of pulls you in to the song itself, and without that, it would lack a bit of gruffness. It would lack, gruff and toughness. It lacks the mood, the atmosphere, the feeling. I feel like the static has the feeling within. It feels more DIY, feels more from the heart, kind of made at home, if you know what I mean. Someone with a passion for the music making it in the basement, making it in the garage with what they can afford. And to me, that is something special. That is something really good. I do love bands with that raw sound because it does sound authentic is the right word. It sounds authentic. So I can understand that why people love raw music, because I'm one of them. I love raw music a lot. But, and there's a big Nicki Minaj but to talk about. It only works in the context of certain bands, I think. It only works in the context of certain bands. If you try to put raw production on a symphonic metal album, it just wouldn't work. It would not work because that's where the clean production rules. That's where clean production is king. In like the symphonic metal, even the heavy metal, classic heavy metal. Sometimes raw production could be good in classic heavy metal. It really depends on the band itself. But most of the time, the singer is first and foremost. In these heavy metal, symphonic metal, and other genres like that, the singer is first and foremost. You want to be able to hear Bruce Dickinson scream. You want to be able to hear Rob Halford sing those high notes. You want to hear it crisp and clear. You don't want no fuzz. You don't want no static or rawness on an Iron Maiden album. You just don't, or a Judas Priest album, or any other, heavy metal or symphonic metal. Like, imagine Nightwish. You might not be a fan of Nightwish, but hundreds of people are, thousands of millions of people are. And imagine if they just brought an album out and it was just laid in this thick fuzz, this static, this just raw energy. It might work for some people, but the star is the vocals for most symphonic and the bombastic nature of everything in the background, the orchestras and just the keyboards as well. It wouldn't work, in my opinion, because all these reaction videos and all these people loving Floor Jansen's voice, Simone Simmons, Sharon from Within Temptation, the vocals will be kind of muffled and blocked out by the raw production, and it just wouldn't work. They wouldn't have as million fans as they do now. It just wouldn't be good. So clean production has its sound and has its style and works for certain bands of that sound and style. But if you try and take that clean production and put it onto something like a lot of black metal bands, it just comes off as too sterile. That's one of the criticisms with clean. It's too sterile. It's too nice. And black metal is a harsh genre. It's not supposed to be nice. It's not supposed to be perfect, crisp and clear. There is exceptions, of course, symphonic black metal. Imagine A Later, Cradle of Filth, Carrick Angren, those kind of bands. Even Limbonica, any symphonic black metal it wouldn't work as well with raw production, which is why a lot of black metal purists only stick to, classic black, raw black, even melodic black, but sometimes melodic black's a bit too clean for them as well. But that's why they stick to them genres. But I think depending on the actual band and album itself depends on what production style you should have. Because it works for some, doesn't work for others. As I mentioned, Epica with raw production would not fucking work. Dark Throat, Burzum. Imagine Burzum's Philosophum with a clean production. Dunkelheit would not have the same impact as it does right now. You would not be transported to the world of Varg's creation with a clean production. It just wouldn't be good. Jesus is Todd with that production. No thanks. Pass. Imagine Paysage the Hiver. A band built on atmosphere. Imagine it clean. No, it would be terrible. It would be terrible. It just wouldn't be that good. Like the latest album, Geister, just wasn't as good as a lot of the others because the production just wasn't as raw. It wasn't as bloody raw. Whereas all the earlier stuff, and it seems like the latest album, thick with atmosphere, thick with just juicy raw goodness, bloody raw. So it really depends on each individual circumstance. You can't say one's better than the other. You can't. You can have preferences, say, like, I prefer albums with raw production, but you can't say everything is better with raw production, because that's false. That's false. Everything's not better with clean production. That's also false. I feel like sometimes I go too far. The latest Winterson album, Time 2, it feels like it was made in a laboratory. It feels like it was just handcrafted and, like, different pipettes and different chemicals mixed together to make it. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel authentic. And that's what lacks in a lot of clean production. But it works for others, like Flesh God Apocalypse, the new album Opera. I think the clean nature works for that album because you can hear her operatic vocals basically shine through, You can hear the operatic vocals shine through, and it shines through fantastically, and it gives the bombast to it because, they're going for a whole operatic style. They're going for a whole, they're going for that sound and that style, and it works very well. But for other bands, it just doesn't. And to me, the Winterson Time 2 doesn't work that well. I know they're kind of symphonic death / black, whatever, but it doesn't work that well. It does feel fake. Feels like a fake album. I like the songs within, but the sound itself, feels like it was created by a bunch of scientists. Not a big fan. Again, progressive metal. Clean production works very well because you can hear all the solos. Imagine not being able to hear all the John Petrucci solos in Dream Theater. They wouldn't have any fans. They wouldn't have any fans. So where would you lie on the spectrum? Do you feel like I do, whereas it depends on each individual circumstance? It depends on each band and each album. There's no cut and dry. There's no just raw is better, clean is better. This sounds like a cop-out response, but if I was going to give my actual response, which one do I prefer? Raw. I prefer raw better. But it depends on the band, depends on the artist, depends on the album itself. So that is what I'm going to go with. Raw is better for me. Most of my favourites are raw, but a lot of my favourites are also clean. The latest Flesh God, amazing, and that's clean. Alcest, not quite raw. Love them. So it really, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest and stuff like that. So it really depends on the individual. So let me know down below, are you team raw? Like Questy, you team raw? Raw dog it? Or are you team clean? Let's all go in the chat. Monkey emoji for raw, because it's primal. Like a bunch of monkeys. And then robot emoji for clean, because it feels like it was produced by robots. Pop them down in the comments because it's fucking stupid and people will click it and be like, why is there a bunch of robot and monkey emojis in the fucking chat? This is retarded. And they'll know what kind of channel they clicked on. So yeah, let me know which allegiance you hold and tell me about the production war. Which side are you on? Let me know and we'll see you again on another Quest for Metal.